living in Tyler, Texas is not for everybody. So in my little jar here, I've got 11 reasons why I don't think you're going to like living in Tyler, Texas. But you've got to stay tuned as we go into each one of these. I'm going to give you my honest and personal opinion as somebody who has lived here, who has seen the changes happen over the last 30 or so years. And a lot of what we're going to talk about in these are going to apply specifically to Tyler, but largely to East Texas as a whole. So I think it's going to be a very valuable video. And if these things are going to be a deal breaker for you, you've got to watch it now so you can find out. All right, so the first one we're going to look at is going to be large religious presence. Now, we do live in the Bible Belt. Texas largely has a very dominant Christian culture. We have a joke in town that there's a restaurant, a bank, and a church on every corner, and it's really just a big part of the community. So if you're somebody that doesn't have a background in Christianity or things like that could bother you, it's probably not the best place for you to be. Now, it's not that these people aren't largely open to other cultures and ideas and things like that, but it is a big part of the Tyler and East Texas culture. Church, your church family, all that kind of stuff are a big part of people's everyday lives. And because of that, you're going to encounter that very frequently here. And here's our next one. And it is insects. Okay, so I don't really think our bug or insect situation is unique relative to other areas. I have to think that bugs and insects and things like that are pretty prevalent in a lot of other places. At my house, we don't really have any indoor pest issues or insect issues, whatever. They do exist outside, but they're actually all pretty easy to treat. But I do have people, when I take them out to places, to their homes, whether we're walking around the property or inside the property, and they see a bug, they're a little bit frightened by that. We do have big bugs here. We do have big flies, big mosquitoes. I've seen a handful of scorpions. They're not really that bad. Spiders exist here as well. But our insect population is not nothing. So if bugs and insects bother you, then Tyler, Texas, East Texas may not be great. I will say probably the worst insect to me is fire ants. They're little bitty red ants that will bite you. They do sting. They're pretty prevalent here. However, you can treat fire ants pretty easily to where it's not a problem, but that's probably our worst one. Wasps, bees, those types of insects do exist here, but I've been stung by a wasp maybe once, a bee maybe once or twice, been bitten by fire ants a handful of times, and I've seen the effects of, when others have been bitten, and it does, definitely sting, but all pretty avoidable if you're just aware of where you're going. They're not a problem inside your house, but they can be a problem outside. All right, here we go for the next one. What do we got? So I put these on sticky notes so they're not super easy to undo. Not a ton of big entertainment options. Now this is something that a lot of people do mention. Tyler, Texas is about 110,000 people. So there's not going to be things like Topgolf, big venue centers where they host concerts and things like that. I actually had a conversation with my neighbor just yesterday about this. And I think a lot of people expect us to have big things because we're not a small town, but we're also not a big city. And the truth is the finances and things like that and the population can't support these really big expensive venues and that sort of thing, just because there's not enough people, and the people that go here probably either don't make enough money to frequent those places for them to be profitable. We don't have like a go-kart, arcade, putt-putt type family venue here. It may do well, but I think we've seen over time, we've had a couple different ones. There used to be a Fire Mountain that was a smaller version of that went out of business. A lot of those big type of venues where they can host big concerts and things like that, where 50 to 100,000 people can come, We don't have that many people living here, so it's just not practical to have those things. I don't know what the requirements are for Topgolf, but Topgolf is a very expensive place to build, very capital intensive, and the truth is there's just not enough people in and around here that would drive to Tyler for that when they could just go a little bit further to Dallas and have more options and things like that. All right, here we go. We got our next one, number 4. Traffic. Okay, so traffic definitely sucks, and it's getting worse. Tyler's growing, and because of that, it's harder to get around South Tyler. It's not going to get easier. It's only going to progressively get worse until the roads start to expand, which I don't even know how soon that's going to happen. There are lots of roadway projects in the works in South Tyler right now on various roads and things like that to kind of help alleviate and allow for traffic to flow a little bit better. But the places like Old Jacksonville, Broadway, when you're heading south or heading north even in the mornings, it's really tough. It's very frustrating to live in a town about this size, but to really have to deal with the frustration of traffic that we would expect in the big city. Now, all that's to say, it's not like the traffic in the big city. Our traffic from my house, like on the further south side of Old Jacksonville, if I get out of my house at say 7:30, 7:40, instead of my drive taking 10 minutes, it's probably going to take 15 to 18 minutes. So it's really not adding any significant amount of time to my day because of the traffic. It is frustrating to have to stop at a red light maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's nothing like traffic that you experience in the big cities to where you'll be in traffic for an hour or more every day just to get to work or to a place you're trying to go to. All right, number 5. So I used sticky notes in there. Sticking together was not the best choice. Largely conservative. Now, this kind of ties into the largely Christian, largely religious. A lot of those two things kind of go hand in hand. A large religious population, a large Christian population are going to lean conservative. We're not like the West Coast where you've got largely liberal politics. A lot of people do not support that ideology, and because of that, that's why I think a lot of people perceive people moving this direction negatively, because they're worried about the politics and the policies of the West Coast coming here. And in my experience, that's not really been the case. Largely everybody that's been moving here are of the same mind and idea of the people that are already here. So just be prepared that largely there's going to be a much bigger conservative population and conservative group of people that are here versus a smaller liberal population. Now, there is a smaller movement, and some of it has, I don't know if it's really grown, but there is a small pocket of more liberal type people here. I will say the major metro markets like Dallas is more purple than it used to be. Austin is absolutely the most liberal city in the state, but it's always been that way. San Antonio is moving that way. Houston is moving that way. But once you get outside of the major metros, much like the rest of the country, the politics of the people are largely conservative. So if that's not something that really fits into what you're looking for, it may be harder to find community and groups and things like that of like-minded people, just because it is very conservative here. All right, here we go. Number 6. Maybe. Okay, thunderstorms. So I'm actually filming this during a thunderstorm right now. Our springs are pretty wet, but we also have a lot of thunderstorms that come through. Now, it's not really a big deal because it doesn't turn into damaging weather too frequently. However, more recently, the hailstorms that have come from these thunderstorms and whatnot have actually made the cost of insurance and things like that a lot more expensive. So it's harder to get an insurance policy now with less than a 2% deductible. You can still get a 1% deductible, but it is getting tougher. Additionally, policies and premiums have gone up significantly over the past 12 months. I'm expecting mine to go somewhere between 50% and double this year, just because of the rate of hailstorms and things like that. It's affecting insurance policies quite a bit. Additionally, thunderstorms will bring very frequent tornado warnings or tornado watches. Now, I've lived in Tyler for almost 30 years, and I've never seen a tornado in Tyler, Texas. They tend to be further north of I-20. There was one in Gilmer a couple years ago. Several years ago, there was one around Canton. There was one in Van several years before that, but they're not very frequent. The thunderstorms are pretty gnarly at times. They're cool to watch. Occasionally, there will be some strong straight line winds. We had a big storm that kind of had some strong straight line winds that blew a bunch of trees over in the Azalea district, I think a year ago. So the thunderstorms are definitely a thing here, but it's not, necessarily unsafe because of the thunderstorms. All right, here we go. Number 7. Getting slower. If you can handle all these, then Tyler, Texas may still be in the running for you. Most expensive in East Texas. And this is true. Part of the issue with Tyler is it's more desirable relative to Longview. It's the biggest population in East Texas. So once you're looking at like Dallas and you see Tyler, it's kind of the hub of East Texas until you go further south. I mean, even then, it's still bigger than all those places. And because of that, it's a lot more desirable. The medical school, the medical jobs and opportunities here for work make it a more desirable place to live. And because of that, the real estate here is more expensive than it is in all those other areas by a decent bit. Now, even some of the surrounding communities like Bullard, Lindell, and those places have higher real estate prices because of their proximity to Tyler. It allows you to kind of live in a small town, but still get to work in Tyler pretty easily. Property taxes in Texas generally are a lot higher. We don't have a state income tax, so there is some offset in that. All right, we got 4 more, sorry. Heat. Okay, so if you don't know, Texas is hot. Tyler is not hotter than the rest of the state, but it is absolutely hot. Last summer was one of the worst summers I can remember. That was the summer of 2023. I think we had 30 or 40 days over 100, and it even got to like 104, 105, 106. And with our humidity, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's pretty humid here. It was uncomfortable. I didn't want to go out basically from the second week of July through the second week of August. That month of time, I did not want to be outside because it was very hot and very uncomfortable. So if you're scared of the heat, Texas is probably not the place for you. However, we are in the second week of May, and I don't think we've had a day over 90 degrees yet. So while this spring has been abnormally wet, it's helped keep it cool. We'll start to heat up. We'll probably hit 90s in the next few weeks, kind of slowly creeping up towards 100. But the summer of 22, actually, I don't think we had a day over 100 until the end of July or the beginning of August or something like that. So Texas is hot. It's a smaller window of heat relative to some places. It doesn't get hot as quick. Everything is pretty mild here year-round outside of the extreme windows of heat from really post July 4th through middle of August. All right, our last 3. Okay, so this ties into heat. There is a lack of seasonal diversity. You will constantly be in a range of 40 degrees on the lower side during the winter. It will be 40 to 50 somewhere typically from, I would say, November through February or March. From March, we'll get up to 50 to 75 or 80. And then in that window from March to the end of May, really will be 70 to 95, something like that. So you have a pretty small window of seasons. It gets really pretty and comfortable in the spring and in the fall for probably a month or 2 at a time. Otherwise, it kind of gets uncomfortable post Halloween. There's been plenty of Halloweens where I've broken a sweat doing trick-or-treating activities and stuff like that with the kids, but largely it is pretty mild year-round here. You don't have extreme winters. We do have what I feel like can be extreme summers where it gets hot, but if you're moving to Texas, that's kind of part of it. You just got to deal with the heat. But largely, if you're expecting 4 seasons with snow, 4 seasons with a beautiful long spring and a beautiful long fall, that's really not the place here. We do have windows of time to where it will be very, very comfortable outside, but they are a lot more brief than some other places. All right, we are down to our last 2 reasons why, 2 of the 11 reasons why Tyler, Texas may not be the best place for you. Okay, so this one's a little personal to me, and I thought just because I played golf today, I would kind of go over it. There's not a lot of great options for public golf here in Tyler, Texas. We have, I guess, two courses here in Tyler. Both are okay. The problem and the reason there's not a lot of great options and why I say they're not great is because they are very packed. There is a good bit of demand for golf here in Tyler, but the problem is it's hard to get out and play without it being extremely busy. As somebody who likes to golf by themselves a lot because of my time and my schedule and things like that, I try to get out pretty early or get out to where I can go and play around in 2.5, maybe 3 hours tops. The public courses, because of all the traffic, it makes it very difficult to do that. Now, if you don't mind playing in a twosome or a foursome, which is actually probably how most people play, the public golf here is fine. It's not the most beautiful courses, but they're actually usually pretty well maintained. They're pretty easy, they're pretty straight, and because of that, they're okay. But if you like to play fast or like to have a bunch of different courses to choose from, the public options here are not great. Now, we do have 3 country clubs here: Holly Tree, Willowbrook, and the Cascades. All are very, very good. I personally like the Cascades. That's where I'm a member. We play, it's pretty open there. The course is always very well kept. It's very green. It's forgiving. There's a few challenging holes. Holly Tree is a little bit tighter. Willowbrook is a traditional country club, a little bit more narrow, a little bit more short, requires you to do a couple different shots and things like that. So there are options to play here if you're serious enough and this is actually something that matters to you. The country clubs here that you can join are pretty reasonable. All, I believe, are less than $550 a month. Reasonable fees to join in terms of your initiation and things like that. None of them are too expensive, so there are a few options in that regard. All right, so we have our last reason why Tyler, Texas may not be the place for you of our 11 reasons. If you've survived these, hopefully you can survive this last piece here to make sure that it's a good fit for you. These are okay, and this one's okay. Tyler, Texas may be a great spot. Allergies. Okay, so it's definitely the case. Somebody who has struggled my entire life with allergies. It does tend to be very seasonal in the spring, but I have found that it is pretty treatable as well. I take a Flonase type thing almost every day, or just as I start to feel it coming on, to make sure that I keep my allergies at bay. But for various reasons, whether it's the pollen, the air, I don't know what it is, there are a lot of things here that will trigger allergies for a lot of people, and it's something that's uncomfortable. I sneeze, I'll get congested, my eyes will be itchy, whatever it may be. There are a lot of things here that will cause your allergies to kind of go awry. Now, that being said, it is very treatable. You can take a Claritin daily. I've got a Flonase nasal spray that I use. The biggest issue for me is sometimes at night when I lay down, I might get congested. It makes it hard to sleep, but largely it's fixable as long as I'm doing my part to preventatively address it. So allergies are something to be aware of. Again, it is something that is very treatable. All right, so we appreciate you checking out our video today about why Tyler, Texas may not be a great fit for you. But the truth is, if you can handle these objections, then you're going to have a great place to call home, because Tyler really is phenomenal, from great people to affordable prices relative to a lot of places, lots of choice, lots of growth and opportunity in the city. I don't know that this is the video to articulate why Tyler's so great, but it truly is the only place that I'll ever call home. So if you've been thinking about making a move to Tyler, Texas or East Texas, we would love to connect with you. Please leave us a comment, reach out to us through email, text message, whatever it may be. We'd love to hear from you. As a real estate agent, I specialize in working with people making a move to East Texas, and I would love to be a resource for you. So if you're thinking about buying a home, please reach out. I've helped over 100 families relocate to Tyler, Texas specifically, or East Texas rather. So I'm very familiar with the entirety of East Texas. We cover basically from Terrell all the way to Texarkana and down south towards Lufkin, all the way north to Paris. So we cover all of it. We know it really well and would love to help you. So thanks again for checking out our channel. We would love to get some feedback on our video. What do you hate about Tyler, Texas? Leave us some comments and we'll see you on the next one.